Welcome back to the Cozy Cottage Homestead. Today we're going to be canning pinto beans. First of all, I'm going to tell you some of the health benefits of pinto beans, and if you haven't given them a try, maybe you'll think twice about it after this. How healthy are pinto beans? Pinto beans are the most popular dried beans in the U.S., frequently used in Mexican dishes. Pinto beans are full of minerals and vitamins. Good source of fiber and protein, which helps improve blood sugar issues. Rich in antioxidants, protects cells from free radicals, and prevents chronic diseases, such as anti-cancer properties. Pinto beans are heart healthy, may help lower blood pressure, and also your bad cholesterol, reducing the risk of heart disease. May also reduce or boost weight loss because pinto beans are high in the fiber and the protein, which makes you feel more full after you eat pinto beans. And if you feel more full, then you're more likely to not eat as much or overeat. So it can help you feel fuller because it has the fiber in it. So therefore you would probably eat less and maybe lose a little weight. How do we enjoy our canned pinto beans? I like canning pinto beans because it is very convenient and it is a time saver. And it's a very nutritious way to make a meal for your family from pinto beans. Now I know not everyone likes to eat pinto beans, but maybe you have eaten pinto beans and you just didn't realize it. These are some ways that I use pinto beans. Pinto beans are great for bean dip with jalapeno in it, of course, being from the South. Bean and beef or bean and cheese burrito. Refried beans with that white lovely cheese sauce or just some cheese on top. Or just canned beans over rice or a slice of bread. Or as a side dish with any lovely meal. Pinto beans also make a wonderful, healthy, hearty chili on a nice cold day. Pinto beans are also the famous bean that is in the pork and beans. I don't think many people realize when they love to go to barbecues and eat them pork and beans that they're actually eating them old pinto beans. So, pinto beans are also great in soup. They are great in goulash. And they're also, of course, great in just about any Mexican dish or casserole you could muster up. So I think that's about the main ways that we eat them and how we enjoy them, because it's very healthy and just easy to do. After you can it, you can just heat it and eat it. And as far as making the refried beans in the bean dip, you just drain the liquid out of it, add your spices, smash them up, and you have some refried beans or some bean dip. So it's very easy to do. Lots of different options with the old trusty pinto bean. And some of you are probably wondering, well, is it even worth canning pinto beans? I think it's worth canning pinto beans because I did the little math on it. It would cost you about $1.39 with tax, about $1.50 for 1 can of prepared pinto beans. 1 pound of beans would cost you about $1, give or take, maybe a little more with tax. So I can make 6 cans of pinto beans from 1 pound of beans. So that is $8 savings right there. Doesn't really sound like a lot. Well, if I make a whole entire canner, which would be 18 cans, that would cost me 3 pounds of beans. So about $3, give or take. And if you buy your beans in bulk, pinto beans are really cheap still, so still the frugal way to go and an easy way to fill your pantry. But anyway, 3 pounds of dry beans will give me 18 pints, which is the same as a can of canned beans. That would cost you $1.39 to about $1.50, give or take, with the taxes rounded off. So I would be saving about $27 after I bought the 3 pounds of beans. Yeah, considering you already had your canning supplies in your jars, so it would be even cheaper. And in my case, I have a cousin that doesn't particularly care for pinto beans. They just call them old soup beans. So occasionally she gets pinto beans from food banks in different places, and she gives them to me. So what's better than frugal is free. So I'm going to can up those beans here in a minute. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that button, share, like, and leave me a friendly comment, and we'd be glad to have you as part of the Homestead family here. So let's get right on with our canning our pinto beans. I do have 1 more pound of pinto beans sitting out just in case my 3 pounds isn't enough. So always have extra and try to have everything ready and set up. Okay, pressure canning pinto beans. You're going to do quarts at 90 minutes and pints at 75 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. My canner holds 18 pints. So the first thing you want to do is, this is probably not a ball approved method, so don't think it's going to be to some certain high quality, highfalutin standard. This is just the way I do it, and I've seen several other homesteaders do it this way. I've tried it other ways. This way I seem to like the texture of the beans better, and it just really works well for us. So I wash the beans. I have another table right here. I know you can't see it. It has a strainer in it. I like to fill it up with water and put my hand in there and agitate those beans so that you clean all the dirt and dust and stuff off of them. They are quite dirty even though they come packaged. I probably do that 3 times before the water gets clear enough to where I'm satisfied that they're clean enough. So after I do that, they're good and clean, and I drain them. I like to use the pots if the water holds in there, so when I agitate it, I can see how dirty the water is. And if there's any foreign beans or anything that shouldn't be in there, usually it'll float to the top. And of course, if you get little rocks, they'll be at the bottom. Just pick and sort through the beans. Very simple, very easy. So my jars have been washed. They have been put in the oven to sterilize them. I put them at a low temperature for about 15 minutes in the oven and let them cool off naturally. They've been sterilized. So I have my beans ready. I have my jars ready, all my stuff. The way that I do it is, you're going to put about 1/2 cup of dry pinto beans in each jar. And I'm not going to do all 18 jars, just going to do a few to give y'all an idea of how to do your pinto beans. If you were doing a quart, you would put 1 cup of dry beans in a quart. I think I'm just going to do like 3 or 4 of them, just so you have an idea how easy it is. Very simple, y'all. Very easy. This has been the easiest method that I have found for canning beans. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and do our 6. Just so it gives y'all a little idea of how to do it. And I will load up my canner, and after I load up my canner, I will show you the next step. I'll probably pause it while the canner's going and fill it up, and then I'll show y'all what the pinto beans look like whenever they come out of the canner. Slide that back a little bit. This is boiling hot water. I let it cool off. It's probably a little hotter than lukewarm. Maybe if your faucet had hot water, that would do it, but it's recommended that you use filtered water or sterilized water. So I boil it anyway. I do have an Alexa here, so I could use that filtered water, but I just went ahead and boiled some water just to be on the safe side. And I boil the water because my faucet doesn't stay hot. I'm very frugal. I keep my hot water heater turned off unless I absolutely need it. Whenever I need it in the evenings for taking baths or washing up the dishes, then I'll turn it on, and then after we get finished, we cut it off. So there's your good frugal tip. Cut those hot water heaters off when you're not using them. Okay, so I just filled this up. Let me get my funnel. Leave 1 inch headspace. You could use vegetable broth or beef broth or chicken broth or rabbit broth, whatever kind of broth you would like to flavor your beans with to add a little more flavor. I tend to leave mine plain, and then I add more seasoning spices to my beans whenever I decide what I want to use them for. So leave the 1 inch headspace. And if you do use broth, you want to not use salt in your beans because it will make it too salty. However, unless if you like some salty beans, then add you some more salt to it. But it's not recommended that you add the salt if you're using the broth. Right, the first thing we want to do is debubble it. And these jars are hot, not too hot, so just go ahead and give it a little stir. Make sure you get all the bubbles out, just in case there would be any bubbles, so you don't have any. Alright y'all, so my camera went kaput, battery died on me. So what I was saying is leave 1 inch headspace. Actually you can leave a little bit more than 1 inch headspace. Get your debubbler, just kind of go around, check them all out. Sometimes the volume of the water will go down after you give it a stir and debubble it. It is necessary to debubble. Make sure that it's not overfilled, and to make sure that there's no air pockets in there, because that can cause your jars to crack, split, explode, overflow, have problems. I have a measuring cup. I go back and check to make sure that it's just under that 1 inch mark. So all I'm going to do now is wipe off the tops with a little bit of vinegar on a clean paper towel. Actually, I forgot to do the salt first. The salt is going to be next. So what I was saying before the battery died was, if you want to use broth instead of hot water, you can use the broth. But if you use the broth, you will not need the salt. I put about 1/2 teaspoon of salt in each one. You can put as much salt or as less salt as you like. Just depends on your family's needs, but we all need a little bit of salt. And like I said, if you don't overdo it, whenever you use your beans, you can add more spices and seasoning to it. Actually, I think I missed this first one. And if I didn't put salt in one, it's okay. It's still going to be good. I'll add more to it later. You don't have to stir it again. I do stir it again. I don't know, it's just something that I do. I guess just to make sure the salt's all in there, which is going to cook in the pressure cooker, and it's going to mix it all up. I know. Alright, so let me wipe off the rims with a clean paper towel that's been dipped in just regular vinegar to make sure that there's no oils or anything from the beans or your hands that would possibly make your jar not have a good seal. Right, I know a lot of people just, the leftover vinegar, they just throw it in their pressure cooker, and it's supposed to help with keeping your pressure cooker pristine, no stains, no water stains. I haven't started doing that yet. I feel like maybe the acid from the vinegar would cause my jars to not seal. I don't know. I guess I just haven't tried it. I would think that it would react with the metal, because see, when you put the lids on the jars, the seal is what's touching the glass. So the metal's not touching the glass. That's just my take on it. I would think the metal would have a reaction with the vinegar. So I just don't throw it in my cooker, in my canner. So to each his own. You do what you feel comfortable doing. All I'm going to do now is go back and make sure they're finger tight. And you do want to make sure you check them all on this one. You don't want to crank on it and make it too tight. You just want to make sure it's on there. Put the tray on top. And then start loading the other ones right on top. Alright, it really is just that easy. I will put my top on. Get all my little spots lined up. I will fasten all the little pieces. I will bring the canner up over a medium heat and let it vent for about 10 minutes. Once it comes up to temperature, a vent right here, steam's going to come out for 10 minutes. And after that steam comes out for 10 minutes, I'll put my pressure gauge on it. I'll watch my pressure gauge over here. This will be your weight. This is your gauge. And bring it up to 10 pounds of pressure. And then I will adjust it to make sure that it holds that 10 pounds of pressure. Make sure my little weight is jiggling right. I'm not going too spastic and too crazy. Let it jiggle every once in a while. I think it's like maybe once or twice every minute. And it should just sit there and just kind of hum along. Every once in a while it'll kick up a little bit, and then it'll go back down. So just keep your temperature at a good temperature so that everything's working right. And we're going to let that go. My pints, let me make sure, I don't want to tell y'all wrong. Pints are 75 minutes, so I will let it go at 75 minutes, and then I will set my timer, cut the timer off, and then I will let it cool off naturally to where there's no more steam coming out. The pressure gauge goes back to 0, and then I will open it and I'll be back and show you what the canned pinto beans look like. Alright, it's been about 3.5 hours. We've already had our supper, fed all the animals on the homestead, and just let the pot cool off naturally. Everything's back to 0, so it's safe to take off the weight. There's no steam coming out. Loosen up all of these. And you always want to open the lid away from your face, especially like on the stove. When we cook outside, it's lower to the ground, but still we open it away from our face. Everything is still extremely hot. Twist it just a little bit to get it off. Alright, get my little grabbers. Start lifting them out slowly. Because remember, everything's hot. It's cool in the house, and you don't want there to be a draft or a fan blowing anywhere to where it temperature changes too fast. So far, they're looking pretty good. I already hear some of them popping, so that means they sealed. Alright, I guess y'all can see this. I don't want to walk too far over there because I don't want to drop them. My hands kind of got to be careful with my hands. They do act silly sometimes. Alright, I will just cover these up with another towel, maybe a towel or two. Very simple, very easy. Now we have 18 pints of canned pinto beans. That's ready for a quick, easy meal. I have to add this little silly thing in there. Whenever I put the beans in there, I made darn sure I didn't put more than 239, because you know what happens if you eat more than 239, like my dad said, then you'd be 240. So y'all be careful with them beans. Don't put more than 239 in each jar. So farewell, Homestead family, friends, and neighbors, and thanks for joining me today. And we'll see you next time from the Cozy Cottage Homestead.